It's time to down tools for a bit. Welcome to the Toolshed, the influential podcast for anyone and everyone involved in the building industry. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Toolshed. As you are aware, if this isn't your first time in the Toolshed, we're always looking for people and philosophies and tools and platforms and ideas that can help the builder have a better, more effective, more profitable, more enjoyable building business. In this episode, I'm talking to Erik Coifed, and he is a part of Builder Chain. We're going to find out all about Builder Chain and Erik's history. So, Erik, welcome to the Toolshed podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Now, I'm in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia. You're not. Where are you?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
That's a long way away from Hobart.
But I think Hobart is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I mean,
you've traveled here?
The view of the water. No, I worked for a company in Australia, and I never got to Hobart, and that is a shame. But Houston starts with an H-O, and Hobart starts with an H-O, and that's about as far as we're going to get.
We're virtually brothers.
Yeah.
So I want to get to Builder Chain in just a sec, but I want to know a little bit about your history and how you ended up where you ended up. I have been made aware that you were interested in Viking history and Native American history, and I've been made aware that the first house you built was for a dog. So,
wow, yeah, you've done a good job stalking me. Good job, yeah. Well, it's all true, actually. I got into this industry about 30 years ago, and it's so funny. My wife asked me. She said, "What do you know about building? All you've done is build a doghouse, for goodness sakes." Well, that's true. But about 30 years ago, I was doing some business analysis for a company who also did web development for builders. And 30 years ago, a website for a home builder cost $50,000, right? So I was doing the business process analysis, and they said, "Hey, why don't you work for this other division?" And I thought about it, and I said, "Well, I don't know anything about residential construction." And they said, "It's technology. We sell technology to builders, and builders don't know that much about technology." And I thought back when I was a kid, I was teaching Bible study, and my pastor said, "Hey, can you teach Bible study?" And I said, "Oh, I can't teach Bible study. What, are you crazy? I can't teach Bible study." And he goes, "We're talking about first graders." I said, "Oh, well, yeah, but still, I don't know the Bible that well." And he goes, "Can you read your one lesson before the kids?" Well, of course, yes, I can read my lesson before the kids. He said, "Then to them, you are the expert. As long as you know more than they do, you have a gift to give to them." And that never left me. And I think it's true for builders today in terms of the consumers that they work with. The builders know more than the consumers. And so when I was considering getting into this industry and switching from a business analyst to working in residential construction, I said to myself, as long as I can study residential construction, learn enough about the technology involved in residential construction, and be of value to the people I'm talking with and not some fake trying to, pretend. And so I went on a journey to learn a lot of information in a short period of time. And that was 30 years ago, and I've been in this industry ever since. And I do feel that it's true that I have been able to give builders a lot of guidance and mentorship and advice and perspective because I have stayed ahead of the curve of technology. Now, builders are getting smart. They're already smarter than me on construction science, of course, but I think all consumers are getting more intelligent about technology. And here comes AI, right? Some years ago. And so I've made the decision. I was a business coach for about 3 years, had my own consulting company, worked as a VP level for some large software companies, helped them get sold. bought and sold my own companies many years ago. And so I've decided that I want to really learn AI. So this is about 2 years ago. And I delve in and I'm, learning artificial intelligence because I'm wondering, well, how does a builder use it? And they're certainly not going to embrace it first, right? Builders are not going to embrace this technology first. So I have an opportunity to, I don't want to say become an expert because it's constantly changing and I'm not sure anyone can ever be an expert,
Mm.
but at least get a foundation of knowledge. So I got into artificial intelligence and here I am, still in technology, still helping builders, 30 years and counting.
Yeah, and I remember reading that. I think you ran a company called Top Build at one stage. Was that correct?
Yeah, Top Builder Solutions. Top Builder Solutions. That
Yeah,
was a
Top Builder
CRM system.
Solutions. Yep. And I think you were part of the Association of Professional Builders for a while.
3 years.
Just
Three
to
years.
wind it back, and I know this might sound like a bit of a strange question, but I've found that I get all sorts of insights and lessons from the strangest places. And I'm just wondering, all that while back when you were interested in studying Vikings, what were some of the insights and lessons that you can remember from that sort of research that you perhaps still carry with you today?
That is a very insightful question, and I have a very interesting answer for you. So, first of all, I'm Norwegian. I'm a Norwegian American. My wife is a Norwegian citizen. Our grandkids are dual citizens. So, being interested in Vikings just came naturally through my
Mm.
DNA as a kid. And I studied that they met the Native Americans at the time. And the lesson that I understood, because the Viking settlement kind of disappeared. So there's a couple of lessons. One is if you're going to do something, do it right and play to succeed. I like Colin Powell years ago. He said, I only play to win. And I like that mentality. And the Vikings didn't understand their adversary very well. Now, I don't know who was really more technically advanced. I think it was the Vikings. They had better ships, they had better weapons, but they were in smaller numbers. And of course, the Native Americans, this was not Plymouth Rock. These were not friends.
Mm.
So, one of the lessons I learned was that if you're going to engage in something, you better bring enough weapons or enough resources, etc. And where that comes in play in business is businesses frequently start up without enough resources or even strategy or planning or documentation or anything else to really succeed. And so many businesses fail, from the nail salon, the donut store, the hamburger shack, whatever. Um, and there are some builders that have done the same thing. I'm talking to a builder now who's looking at buying a modular factory franchise and going into offsite construction, which I think is the future, at least in the United States. But
Mm.
anyway, um, and it's offsite construction is very misunderstood. So part of my conversation, my consulting with him, is to really help him understand what he's getting into, because there's no sense in getting into something if you don't have the resources, whatever those are, to go all the way and make it successful. And that was a lesson that this question came up, back when I was in college. And I just remember thinking the Vikings didn't have enough resources. So there you go.
Mm.
You probably thought I didn't have an answer, but I have. It's a very valuable lesson I learned.
I knew you'd have an answer. I mean, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, it just by default, I think you start to learn lessons of it. From it, if you're passionate about those sorts of things, you're obviously interested in it, and you just can't
Yeah.
help but take lessons out of it, which is a really terrific thing. Speaking of lessons, so Builder Chain is very artificial intelligence focused, and I'd really like your opinion or your thoughts on the application of artificial intelligence. And I asked the question from the perspective that I think a lot of people tend to think that AI, particularly at the moment, is kind of like Chat GTP, where you'll just ask a question and it brings you back an answer or a solution or a form or an image or what have you. And people see it as a tool. And I was having a conversation with another person a little while ago that is very, very passionate about AI, and his perspective was very, very different. He didn't think that AI was just a tool. He thought it was something completely different. I'd love your opinion on that. What's your philosophy about AI and how it will affect us, and perhaps the limitations of people's current thoughts about what AI is and how it can be used?
That's great questions. Well, first of all, there's a lot of different types of AI.
Mm,
Chat GPT is generative AI in that it's generating content. And there's robotics and there's all kinds of different artificial intelligence. When you start to get to know it, it's a little scary what it can do. And I think that it is fundamentally a tool at this time. Different types of AI uh, platforms do different things. I love ChatGPT. I'm teaching my 8-year-old grandson how to use it. You can go on it and say, write me a poem about a girl and a horse, and it'll write you a poem about a girl and a horse.
mm,
But you can be much more sophisticated. You can say, write me a poem about a girl who's 20 looking back on her life when she was a kid, and she rides a fjord horse with long white hair. I mean, you can get really like
mm,
nuanced into it. And of course, like a lot of things, the better the data in, the better the data comes back. And a lot of people are already using AI and they don't even know it. They might use a chatbot. If you go to a production builder and the chatbot says, "Hi, I'm Sean. How can I help you?" And you say, "Well, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, all on one floor," and comes back with results. That's artificial intelligence, and we've been using that for a while, even though a lot of people didn't think of it as artificial intelligence. But I've got some great examples that I can share with you. So I do think it's a tool. I think it is in its infancy for most of the world. The military and some other types of companies are using very deep levels of AI. Uh, at its core, it does things that humans can't do, or that would take a human a long time with a lot of people and might not be accurate anyway, because it can analyze a lot of probabilities. If you ever play chess, you say, well, if I move here, they're going to move there, and then I'm going to have to move there, and then they're going to move there. Oh, wait, no, they could go over here. There's a lot of variability. And for the human mind, it takes brain power to figure out how to beat the opponent in chess. Well, imagine that on super steroids, and AI can conceive of every possible thing you could do, every move you could make, and the the ability to calculate and analyze data. I think it's really mostly about data. Now, if you want to use AI to generate art and sell it as your own art, I guess you could do that. I have some ethics boundaries about that, but anyway. Um, but you can generate a lot of different things. You can generate images, all kinds of content, um, and you can have it do calculations for you. You can really probably get in trouble. And because human nature tends to ruin a good thing often,
mm.
I suspect that we're going to have a lot of problems with fake data. We already are having a lot of problems with fake data, but I mean, on a much bigger scale. And I think it's going to be difficult for people to discern the difference between fact and fiction. And that's going to cause us societal problems. While we look at AI right now as solving problems, and it certainly does. I mean, I'm helping builders make millions of dollars, and that's true. But anything used for good can be used for bad, it seems.
Mm.
And there are going to be people who use it for bad, and we as a society have to figure that out. In the meantime, we have builders that are changing their quality of life because they can go from working 60 hours a week to 45. What would you do with an extra 15 hours? Go to your little girl's soccer practice? Spend an extra evening at dinner with your wife? I mean, there's things that you can do with time because time is the one commodity we can't make more of. Except that AI allows you not to make more time, but to reposition your time in such a way that you can use time for different things. So I am thrilled about all of the things that we at BuilderChain are doing. I, I don't know of another company that is specific to the construction industry like we are. We have a job board at builderchain.io. There's a job board now. It has construction jobs on it, but it has artificial intelligence jobs. There aren't very many construction AI jobs right now. Some of the larger builders have a few positions, but I suspect that will increase. Um, we are creating templated solutions because right now, if you want a custom AI solution, we have a conversation. This is where I come in. I have a conversation with you. We talk strategy and concept and what are you trying to achieve? What's your biggest constraint, your roadblock, challenge, that kind of thing. And then I help the builder understand what they can do because they don't know what they can do. They don't know what AI can really do because their perspective of AI, understandably, is chat GPT and chat bots and just very well, those aren't simple solutions, but compared to the other AI solutions, those are simple. Um, Imagine the database behind a system that can answer like every question in the world, or recognize your voice, or patterns, or dictation, or just all kinds of things. I mean, ChatGPT and other programs from Microsoft and Google and so forth, they're extraordinary. When you think about what we are going through as a society, we are going through tremendous change. And some people will make a lot of money through change, and other people will lose a lot of money through change. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All depends on your perspective. Just come back to BuilderChain. I know that they're, if looking on the website, you list at least 4 solutions: Builder Pay, AI services, AI templates, and AI tools. But just before we get into that, and I do want to unpack those, what's the backstory of BuilderChain? How did that come into being? What was the problem or the opportunity that was seen that caused that spark, that thought to set up this organisation called BuilderChain? Hey, I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt, and I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Toolshed podcast. I've got something super exciting I want to share with you. We've got a place that's got a whole bunch more free resources to help you with your building business. In fact, there's a whole other podcast that gives you specific training that will help you get more free time, more profit, and more enjoyment from your building business. And it's called, funnily enough, the Toolshed. It's free to join, and it's full of other success-focused builders. And I invite you to join us in the Toolshed, where you can ask me questions and get guidance and support from other successful builders. Just click the link in the description to join, and I'll see you in there. I hope you enjoy the rest of this podcast.
yeah, well, there's 3 founders, but the main founder is a gentleman named Don Bowden. And he owned a building company, and I forget the numbers, but I think he went from 300 homes a year to about 1,000 homes a year.
Wow.
And the Builder Pay product that you're talking about isn't really an AI product. It can leverage AI in it, but it's a pretty standard, a different way of engaging and paying your trades on a micro basis. So if if I'm your trade and my task has 5 steps, you could pay me 5 different times. So I can get paid on Monday, on Wednesday, and when I'm back on next Monday, I get paid again. And so I get paid in little spurts. But what that does for cash flow for the trades, they love it because, there's typically they're smaller companies and cash flow is king. So rather than wait 2 weeks or some builder messing with them and not paying them for a month, now they get paid every couple of days whenever they finish a section of the project. And Lenders love it because, well, not to get into a product demo, but lenders love it because it really protects them in terms of, they're loaning money before the work is done in some cases. The consumers like it because their money is going right to where it's supposed to go. Some builders love it because they can get trades to come and work for them in a growing market. And one of the constraints that a lot of builders have is that they can't find enough trades to build enough houses fast enough. Well, if you're paying your trade in a preferred way like that, probably the trade is
Mm.
going to come to do your houses first.
Yep.
So builder pay is now there are builders who don't like it because they use funds in a less than ethical way. They keep the money and they use it, pay their truck payments and whatever, and eventually they pay other people, and it's kind of money all over the place. But um, I if they're running their business in a healthy way, they don't need to do that.
Yep.
And I've helped builders turn that around. But so that's builder pay. We have AI tools, they're hardware tools. There are telemetry pendants that you can wear that collect data on your body movements, where you are, things like that, um, without you having to do everything, how you're bending, all kinds of things.
Wow.
My favorite hardware kind of non-software AI thing is what we call our command post. It is an unmanned construction trailer, comes in different sizes and whatnot. It has a drone on the top of it. You can operate that drone from a remote location. You can allow your trades to come in and sit down on the computer in the trailer, get their marching orders, etc. That drone can be used for security at night or even in the daytime. It can be used to take videos of the things that are hard to get to. It can be used for inspections. So there's all kinds of hardware related AI solutions. Um, but we use a platform called Palantir Technologies, and that's PLTR on the New York Stock Exchange. They're vast, they're global. I forget all of the statistics, but they control 100% of the hospital beds and nurses in the UK, about 20% in the United States. They have, I think it's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of business with every branch of the US military, including the Coast Guard. Their platform is astounding.
Mm.
Um, and so for most companies, if you were a big builder and you went to Palantir, we're talking millions of dollars. But for us, we provide access to that artificial intelligence platform on a fractional basis. And most builders are kind of afraid of AI. They don't know what it does or how to use it. But one thing I found that builders are thinking about AI is that they have to do the solution. They have to create something. And these are people who don't really implement software, let alone create AI solutions. So that's really a myth. In fact, I don't think any builder should be creating AI solutions. It's not what they do, it's a distraction.
Mm.
And a builder is going to take an extraordinary amount of time. It's a false economy. They should go to an AI solutions company that can do it in a short period of time for not much money. And AI solutions typically have extreme. Um, can you still hear me?
Yep. Yep. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So something clicked or whatever. Um, so it had. I mean, AI should have extreme ROI. And when builders understand the formula, let's say you're going to spend 10,000 and you're going to make 60,000. Okay, well, who wouldn't do that all day long? I'll
Mm.
do that every single day of my life.
Mm.
Um, Lennar is, this is public information. It's not anything we did, but they are saving $2 to $8 million per community just by managing their purchasing more effectively and efficiently. Because when you're a big builder, you've got lots of trade partners, you have lots of products. A house is comprised of a lot of products, and some of the products are for one community, but they're not for another community. And so that's a very complicated formula and puzzle and mathematical puzzle that a builder, even with resources, isn't going to do accurately. But AI can do that in minutes, and it'll tell you, okay, You use the Kohler 121 on this floor plan and use the Anderson window over here on this floor plan. In this neighborhood, use XYZ windows, and over there, use 123 plumbing. It gives you the marching orders and tells you what you need to do. So that's just one example, and there's many. But for smaller builders, they don't have, well, if you're doing 5 custom homes a year, you still have issues with purchasing.
Mm.
And I learned when I was a kid that if you can't pay your $500 rent or your $5,000 mortgage, it's kind of the same problem.
Yep.
And so a smaller builder and a giant builder have different versions of their problems and their challenges, but they still go through a lot of the same things. Now, AI can solve things for builders, or really any company of any size, but any builder of any type, remodeler, on up to the giant production builders, manufactured housing companies, modular builders, whatever. But you have to know what your problem is or what you want to solve. So if you call me up and say, hey, tell me about AI, I can tell you a lot about AI. But when you say, what can I do with it? That's going to take us a few weeks to talk about. Rather, I would say, tell me about your company. What are you going through? What are your challenges? What are you trying to achieve? Because maybe they're trying to sell more or move to a different product, whatever it is, right? I want to solve their business issues. So instead of you asking me, what can AI do, which is vast, I would rather say, what do you want it to do for your company?
Yeah.
And focus in on that. Because every company has constraints. Even the most successful, efficient, highly profitable companies have constraints. Just because you're ExxonMobil and you make billions of dollars doesn't mean that you don't have constraints, right? There's only so much oil. There's only so much you can pull out of the ground. There's only so much equipment, and there's just various constraints. So that's kind of what I love to do. I love talking strategy to builders and helping them understand a plan of action. So I tell you what, Joe, here's what we could do. What do you think about this? And then I talk them through that. There's work to do, right? It's this, even if you're going through an AI solutions company, which every builder should, even the large ones that do 60,000 homes a year, they go through an AI solutions company. If you start getting a solution in place, it is addictive because now you solve some problem. Well, guess what? A new constraint that wasn't really your biggest deal before becomes your biggest deal.
Yeah.
Or something else you think of and you say, yeah, you know what? That wasn't that hard. I wonder if we could. Now you go solve something else, right? Maybe it's labor shortage. I was talking to a modular factory, and his biggest constraint is drywall drying. He can't make drywall dry any faster than he's already doing it. And you can't move those units down the assembly line unless the drywall is dry. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. So, we can look at that constraint, but that's a very different type of constraint. So the fun part for me is when the builder gets it and they realize they're getting extreme ROI, and now they come back to me and say, hey, let's talk some more about some different AI things. Okay, cool. Let's talk. It's fun.
Yeah. It's absolutely fascinating that and the rate that things will change with AI is going to be astounding in all sorts of different spaces, not just building. So, and I'm assuming the best way to reach out to Build a Chain is just buildachain.io. So we'll make sure we'll put the website link in the description for this podcast so people can just click it. And I assume that they just click that and organise to have a conversation with you.
Yeah. Or, if they don't want to go to the website, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just look up Erik Coifed, ERIK, because why? I'm Norwegian American. So ERIK, Cofield. That's the Cofield is a little bit of Irish part of me over there on the other side. And I think of my Irish as fundamentally pretty heavily influenced by Vikings anyway. So yeah, they can go out on LinkedIn and reach out to me. They could go to builderchain.io. I can send them an email. They can see my calendar. They can call my cell phone. We are so easygoing. I just love it. It's all about the relationship. We don't really have a salesperson. We don't do PowerPoint presentations. We talk strategy. And some builders have wanted to get involved in creating an AI query, which is the set of marching orders or instructions that you put into the platform. If they want to do that, okay. But it's not really a programming thing. It's text, right? Because the AI platform understands language. So it's just a set of instructions. I'm working on somebody that's considering opening a factory in Tulsa versus Omaha, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Omaha, Nebraska. So you have to ask it, to consider things like the labor pool and the demographics and the average income and all this stuff. So if they want to nerd out, we can do it for them. But that's not me. I don't run those things. My superpower is that I translate tech gibberish into the language of business and profit. And builders love it because they don't speak tech gibberish. So, and I love it because I get to stay one step ahead of the builder, at least on tech gibberish.
Just like doing Bible study to the first graders, same principle.
That's it.
Wrapped it up in a nice, neat bow. So, Erik, it's been fascinating. I love talking about this sort of stuff. It was been an absolute pleasure to meet you and have a conversation with you and learn about how this all started and where it's headed. And so, thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mick. It was a pleasure, genuinely. See you.
Terrific. So that's it for this episode of the Toolshed podcast. We will have the link to builderchain.io in the description. We'll also put a link to Erik's LinkedIn page as well, or LinkedIn connection, so you can have a conversation via that platform as well. But if this is something that intrigues you and you feel that it can it's something that you want to start to unpack and see how you can implement it in your business, that is the direction to head. So I hope this got you thinking. I hope it was valuable for you, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode of The Toolshed. I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all. I am out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to The Toolshed. If this podcast struck a chord with you, make sure you spread the word by sharing it with your mates in the building industry. We love your help to make the building industry better for everyone involved.